A dramatic escalation is unfolding around one of the world's most strategically vital waterways after President Donald J. Trump issued a sweeping statement announcing that the United States Navy will move to stop maritime traffic in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, while also targeting any ship alleged to have paid Iran what he described as an illegal toll. In the statement attributed to the president, the rationale is framed as a response to what he calls deliberate disruption of global commerce and energy flows. President Donald J. Trump said, effective immediately, the United States Navy, the finest in the world, will begin the process of blockading any and all ships trying to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow maritime choke point linking the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. It is routinely described by energy analysts as one of the most critical routes for global oil and liquefied natural gas shipments, even temper. Area instability there can ripple into energy markets, insurance rates, shipping schedules, and consumer prices worldwide. The president's message casts Iran as having manufactured a crisis by claiming to have placed mines in the water, then using that threat to force ships into routes closer to Iranian territory. President Donald J. Trump said Iran promised to open the Strait of Hormuz, and they knowingly failed to do so. He added that the situation caused anxiety, dislocation, and pain across countries dependent on stable maritime trade. The statement goes further, asserting that Iran has used the mine threat to justify charging vessels to pass through what the president described as Iranian-controlled waters, and suggests the U.S. will pursue ships believed to have complied. After a crash, President Donald J. Trump said, "I have also instructed our Navy to seek every vessel in international waters that has paid a toll to Iran." After a crash, President Donald J. Trump said, "No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas." The announcement signals not only a major shift in posture, but also a potentially explosive legal and diplomatic confrontation. A blockade, especially one that stops third-country commercial ships, can be interpreted internationally as an act of war unless clearly grounded in a lawful framework and coordinated with allies. The statement indicates other countries will participate, but does not specify which governments have committed to join, under what mandate, or with what rules of engagement. At the center of the president's argument is the claim that Iran is attempting to hold the world's shipping lanes hostage by exploiting geography. The strait's shipping channels are narrow, and the surrounding waters are bordered by Iran to the north and Oman and the United Arab Emirates to the south. In practice, commercial vessels often transit through designated traffic separation schemes, and any disruption, real or rumor, can quickly create bottlenecks. In the commentary that followed, the situation was framed as the United States responding to extortion rather than initiating a conflict. The view presented was that Iran's leverage rests on threatening the flow of energy and commerce through a choke point that many nations rely on more than the United States does. The argument is that by moving to control access, Washington is calling the bluff and forcing other major consumer nations to confront the risk directly rather than treating it as a regional problem. The president's statement itself adopts an uncompromising tone, describing mine clearing as imminent and warning of overwhelming retaliation against any attack. President Donald J. Trump said, "We will begin destroying the mines the Iranians laid in the straits." And he added, President Donald J. Trump said, "Any Iranian who fires at us or peaceful vessels will be blown to hell." Ions, suggesting that while most points were agreed to, the nuclear issue remained unresolved. As President Donald J. Trump said, the meeting went well. Most points were agreed to, but only point that really mattered, nuclear, was not. That line links the maritime confrontation to the broader nuclear standoff, implying the Strait crisis is part of a wider pressure campaign rather than an isolated incident. The statement contains sweeping claims about the state of Iran's leadership and military capabilities, describing catastrophic losses and saying top leaders are dead. As President Donald J. Trump said, Khamenei and most of their leaders are dead, all because of their nuclear ambition. He also asserted President Donald J. Trump said their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar are useless. Those claims, if taken literally, would represent a seismic shift in the region's security reality, one that would normally be accompanied by extensive official briefings, allied confirmations, and a visible change in Iran's chain of command. The statement ends with a warning that the U.S. military is prepared to expand operations beyond maritime interdiction. As President Donald J. Trump said, additionally, at an appropriate moment, we are fully locked and loaded, and our military will finish up the little that is left of Iran. To discussion around the statement, the immediate operational focus was described as twofold: mine clearing and interdiction. The narrative presented is that Iran has declared a central portion of the strait unsafe due to mines, Mines that, according to the commentary, Iran itself may not have mapped or disclosed, then redirected traffic toward routes closer to Iran's coast, where it could impose fees or exert coercive control. A map description offered in the coverage laid out two distinct maritime zones, a larger central area regarded as the normal shipping route, and a narrower path closer to Iran that ships are allegedly being forced to use. The logic described is that the mine threat is the lever. Ships avoid the danger zone, shift toward Iranian waters, and then face demands. Whether those demands are formalized, widely enforced, or sporadic would matter greatly to how shipping companies, insurers, and governments respond. The legal argument raised centers on the idea that international straits are not meant to be controlled by a single bordering state in a way that blocks passage or imposes unilateral tolls. The commentary referenced the concept that under international law, states bordering a strait used for international navigation must allow transit passage and cannot suspend it or impose arbitrary charges that function as extortion. That framing is used to justify the U.S. move as enforcement of a global norm rather than a unilateral power play. However, the practical consequences could be immense. Blocking any and all ships attempting to enter or leave the strait would affect not only Iranian shipping, but also vessels belonging to Gulf states, Asian importers, European firms, and global energy traders. Even if the intent is to target only ships connected to alleged toll payments, the operational reality of stopping, searching, and verifying commercial vessels in a congested choke point could create delays, raise the risk of miscalculation, and increase the danger of confrontation at sea. The discussion also emphasized the international dimension. The majority of energy shipments passing through the strait are destined for Asian markets. That means countries like China, Japan, South Korea, and India often have the most immediate economic exposure to disruptions. The argument presented is that if the strait is being coerced, those countries will be forced to choose between accepting higher risk and cost or participating in a multinational effort to secure passage. The coverage suggested that a recent attempt at international action failed due to geopolitical divisions at the United Nations, with the implication that major powers did not unify behind a resolution to compel Iran to stop interfering with navigation. That, the commentary argued, left the United States to act directly and reframe the crisis as not only about Iran, but also about the broader contest between global powers with competing interests in energy flows and regional influence. Operationally, the commentary described U.S. Navy destroyers moving toward the strait to begin conditions for mine clearing and to support the blockade posture. Mine countermeasures are slow, dangerous work, typically involving specialized vessels, helicopters, drones, and explosive ordnance disposal teams. The danger is compounded by the possibility of hidden mines, false warnings, or deliberate attempts to lure ships into vulnerable corridors. The discussion included the idea that U.S. forces have trained for decades for a scenario like this, keeping a strategic strait open, unearthed threat, and that plans for clearing and securing the route have long existed. The suggestion was that the U.S. Navy can move quickly to establish control, reduce Iran's ability to intimidate shipping, and restore predictable transit patterns. But the commentary also acknowledged a critical uncertainty: the veracity of Iran's claims about mines. If mines are real, then clearing them is urgent and necessary to protect civilian crews and prevent catastrophic spills or explosions. If the mine threat is exaggerated or fabricated, then the mine narrative itself becomes a tool of coercion, an information operation designed to redirect traffic and extract money or political concessions. Either way, the result is the same for shipping companies: heightened risk. When insurers believe a route is mined or even possibly mined, premiums rise. Some firms may refuse to sail, others may demand naval escorts. Ports and refineries may scramble to adjust supply. Futures markets can react within minutes. The president's statement suggests the U.S. intends to move beyond escorts and into direct control of the choke point, at least temporarily, until what he described as a normal allowed in, allowed out basis is restored. President Donald J. Trump said at some point, we will reach an all being allowed to go in, all being allowed to go out basis, but Iran has not allowed that to happen by merely saying there may be a mine out there somewhere that nobody knows about. But then that line captures the central argument that Iran is using uncertainty as leverage, claiming exclusive knowledge of where mines are, while forcing the world to accept Iran's conditions for safe passage. The president labels that leverage world extortion. President Donald J. Trump said this is world extortion, and leaders of countries, especially the United States of America, will never be extorted. The coverage framed this as a watershed moment after decades of tension with Iran and Iranian league, Ned proxy groups across the region. The argument presented is that previous administrations avoided direct confrontation over the strait because of the risk of broader war and the economic consequences of disrupting energy markets. The new posture in this framing is meant to end what is described as a long-running pattern: Iran threatening the strait, the world reacting, and then returning to uneasy normalcy without addressing the underlying coercion. Yet the risks are not theoretical. A blockade can trigger immediate countermoves, harassment of naval vessels, cyber attacks on shipping firms, missile or drone threats to ports, or retaliatory action to regional partners. Even a single exchange of fire in the strait could escalate quickly, given the density of commercial traffic and the proximity of military assets. The president's statement also claims Iran's capacity to respond has already been severely degraded. ASCO President Donald J. Trump said Iran knows better than anyone how to end the situation, which has already devastated their country. Atticus. He then added that the blockade will begin shortly and that other countries will be involved. In the absence of detailed operational rules, the world is left to parse what blockading means in practice. Will ships be turned back, boarded, seized, diverted to inspection ports? Will there be exemptions for humanitarian cargo? What about ships flagged to neutral states, and how will the U.S. determine whether a vessel paid a toll to Iran through shipping manifests, port records, satellite tracking, financial transactions, or intelligence reporting? Those questions matter because commercial shipping operates on tight schedules and legal predictability. Unclear enforcement can be as disruptive as a clear shutdown. It can also increase the risk of misidentification, where a ship is suspected of wrongdoing but is actually compliant, or where a vessel is coerced by local authorities and then punished for it. The coverage argued that, paradoxically, the blockade could expose Iran's lack of leverage. If the U.S. Navy can clear mines and secure the normal shipping lanes, then Iran's tactic of redirecting ships into Iranian-adjacent routes loses effect. The claim is that once a normal corridor is safe and protected, shipping will resume through the internationally recognized passageways, undermining any attempt to extract tolls. But even if that's true, it may not happen quickly. Mine clearing is painstaking. Establishing a blockade posture without choking global trade is complex, and any multinational involvement requires coordination, rules of engagement, communication channels, and political alignment among countries that often disagree on Iran, on U.S. leadership, and on the broader Middle East. As this begins to unfold, the central takeaway is that the United States is signaling it will no longer tolerate uncertainty and coercion in the Strait of Hormuz.